Okay, you guys. So here it is. I believe it's a what's it? Tuesday evening. So 5 o'clock right on the dot. Had to make my last phone call. Typically, I like to go until 5:36. Just catch people when they're outside of work. But it's always good to leave voicemails. Always good to send text messages. Right, you still get your point across. And, if you're only calling between like 5 and 6, that's not a lot of time to catch people anyways, right? So anyways, I just wanted to let you guys know the reason why I stopped a little bit early is because I'm doing something that every landlord needs to do, at the very least on an annual basis. And that is check up on your properties, right? Like, this is very important. So I have 3 properties that I need to check up on, and I'm not going to do all of them today, but I'm going to do one of them. And I have this really cool inspection report that just kind of helps guide me through the process, right? All those things that you don't always think about, like behind the toilet, look at that, underneath the kitchen sink, underneath the bathroom sink. Look, check the filters in the vent in the dryer. Check behind the dryer, right? Make sure it's venting properly. Make sure it's not clogged up. Check your AC or not your AC, your furnace filters, right? So there's a whole list of just things that you're supposed to go through and document, and just make sure your tenants are taking care of the property, right? You don't go in there all the time, so you can't see exactly what's going on. And it's very important to put your eyes on these things every once in a while and say, okay, gotcha, how are you guys taking care of the property? And let me give you a really good example. I know this is a kind of a duh situation, and everybody's like, oh, of course you need to inspect your properties. Well, let me tell you about a friend of mine, and he will remain nameless to protect the innocent. We'll just call him Don. Anyways, so he was bragging to me about these renters that he has. He says, oh, Brandon, they're so great. They take care of everything. Anytime there's a problem, they just say they'll handle it. And I never go over there because, there's never any issues. They never ask me to fix stuff. It's great. And I said, oh, yeah? Well, when's the last time you've been over there? And he's like, oh, man, it's been like at least 2 years. And I said, oh, yeah? Don't you want to do an inspection and just make sure that they're, taking care of stuff? He's like, oh, they're good renters, man. I don't have any problems with them. I vetted them really well. And I was like, okay, cool, man. So anyways, down the road, a few months goes by, and he said, hey, Brandon, remember that place I was talking about? I was like, yeah, with amazing tenants. And he said, yeah. Well, anyways, I'm thinking about selling that place. So I went over there to kind of just talk with them a little bit and let them know that I might be selling. And anyways, they painted the entire living room, ceiling and walls, black. Painted it black. All of the gutter downspouts, not the gutters, but the downspouts have fallen off. Or not like all of them, but like 2 or 3 of them. So when it's been raining, it's just been pouring directly against the foundation because there's no downspout to funnel the water away. He said that they have been collecting trash bags, right? They're actual trash. And they've just been storing it in the garage. And every few months, after that trash has been sitting there and marinating, every few months they load up a truck full and take it to the dump instead of paying trash service. And I mean, I could go on and on and on, right? But they did a bunch of stuff, and they changed things without permission. They're storing trash. They had pets that they didn't disclose, all kinds of stuff, right? And I said, yeah, remember Dawn? That's why I said you should be checking on your properties, because if there's a dog food dish and they say they don't have any pets, might think about that. And see, I'm sure tenants are smart enough that they'll hide that. But I'm checking on closets. I'm literally opening every door. I'm looking in all the rooms. I'm looking at everything because I want to see, and I'm just honestly, what if there's water damage, right? What if there's mold and mildew buildup, right? What if, there's a there's a closet that's right behind a bathroom shower, right? Like I need to see, like maybe there's water damage, right? So that's why I know it seems really intrusive and, bad landlord just trying to get one over on his renters. But like seriously, right? Like I need to do like an actual visual inspection of the property. Like I'm not just there to chat with them. I'm there to figure out if there's any problems that they're not aware of, right? And that typically, like how often do you check at the back of your closet? How often do you step on, the corners, right? I remember one time at this actual property that I was having a problem, unbeknownst to me, right, that one of the downspouts was clogged. So all the water was just, again, rushing up against the foundation. And it was somehow the water was getting through. And it actually started to get the carpet wet and the padding wet. So, and they didn't know for a couple days or weeks, and they said, there's this funky smell. And it was because it was a corner of the room that they didn't really go over, right? Like the couch, it was behind the couch. So they didn't know until their feet started getting wet. And anyway, so we had to pull out the couch. I had to pull out the couch. I saw it was all soaking wet, had to pull it back. I had to rip out the padding because the padding was making a weird smell. I dried the carpet, so I bought an industrial fan to dry the carpet, and I had to reapply padding and stuff. And obviously, I'm not a carpenter, a person who deals with carpet, and so I just did the best I could. Landlord, right? But it was cheap. I already had some padding in the garage from when I did the new flooring. And I fixed the situation, and then I was like, okay, where's this water coming from? So then I was like, well, this is on the side of the house where there's no water, so let me go check outside. And then I found out the downspout was flooding against the foundation, so I handled that problem too. So anyways, long story short, you guys, whether it's your properties or someone else's properties, things change. And just because there's renters there doesn't mean they're keeping their eye on that stuff, right? They don't care if the garage is flooding. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. They don't, maybe they're not looking for water spots in the ceiling, right? So they don't notice that stuff. Or maybe it just gradually happens over time. So they're just like, oh, I thought that spot was smaller and now it's bigger. I didn't notice it, right? But I'm coming in with a fresh pair of eyes, remembering from my last inspection, what was there, what wasn't there. Hey, are there any of the kitchen cabinets that are torn off the thing? Is there, just things that are broken that aren't supposed to be broken. And then I'm obviously going to ask them, like, hey, what happened here? And they're going to say, oh yeah, such and such. And I'm like, okay, well, we're going to fix that. I'll have my handyman over here, but they're going to charge you for that because that's, one, I don't want it broken. Two, I'm not going to let it stay broken until they leave because I've seen this happen before too. If you just let maintenance defer until they eventually leave a couple years down the road, you now have used their entire security deposit to fix all the stuff, and then now they're mad at you, and now they're claiming it's normal wear and tear. And two, like nobody wants their entire security deposit taken, right? Like, I mean, that's a big chunk of money that they're expecting back. So I just say, hey, I want to take care of these things immediately. And, sometimes normal wear and tear happens and I'll eat the cost. But if it isn't normal wear and tear, I'm going to say, hey, you guys, that needs to be fixed. And I need you guys to pay for it. And I won't take it out of your security deposit because I need that for when you guys actually leave. And I've had tenants try to do that before. They're like, oh yeah, sure, just take it out of my security deposit. And I'm like, see, I don't do that because what if you don't pay your last month's rent, right? What if stuff starts happening, you start getting late fees, and then I have to evict you guys. And I don't like to go into this, but like, let's just say, things happen and we need that money for reserves later down the road. So I don't like to pull from that unless it's for when you guys are leaving. So just some pro tips here. If you guys are a landlord, please check your property, especially as we get through like the holiday season. I always like to do it right after the holidays because that's usually when the places are most trashed. After the holidays and they have their friends over and family and whatever. I like to just see like, okay, here it is, first week of January, like, okay, how's the property doing after all that? So just something for you guys to think about. You can do them, you know, I wouldn't necessarily recommend more than every 6 months. One, because it's a little intrusive. I've had property managers tell me they do them quarterly, like for tenants that have low credit scores or tenants that were less than ideal. I don't know exactly what that means or those terms, but you know, they didn't obviously meet or match all the criteria, or if they think that there's going to be a problem, they do quarterly inspections. And I'm like, wow, that seems pretty intense. So sometimes, you know, when I have a new tenant, I may swing by for some miscellaneous reason. Obviously give them notice and say, hey, you guys, you know, in 24 hours I'm going to stop by. Yeah, I just need to check on something, so I'm just giving you notice. So give them 24-hour notice, legally required, right? In writing if they ask for it. I try to do it via email just in case. But I always tell them, like, hey, I'm just going to stop by really quick, you know, not an inspection or anything. I just need to, you know, check the furnace filter, or I need to check, you know, the hot water heater and make sure it's not leaking, or something, whatever. And I check those things, right? So that's important. But, you know, if it's a new tenant, you know, I always like to maybe within the first 3 months just say like, hey, how's it going? Are you guys settled in? You know, how's everything going? Did you have any questions? Is there any weird stuff about the house that you know, wanted to know or whatever? You just chat with them and, you know, just kind of visually look around and be like, oh, okay, cool. So this is, you know, is the place trashed? Do they have stuff all over the floor? And then, you know, you might say like, hey, you know, after you leave, hey, I was, you know, there for a little bit and I noticed some things and just wanted to, you know, kind of give you like a verbal, like, hey, can you guys, you know, be a little bit more clean? And I've had to do that before. Believe it or not, I have one tenant, she isn't really clean. So I've had to tell her to like, hey, clean up after yourself a little bit more, right? Like there's stuff everywhere, right? Like the kitchen's covered in stuff and the trash, and you know, and so in fact I probably should have put her on a 6-month inspection just to see if she actually did that stuff. Well, anyways, next weekend I'm gonna go see. It's been like over a year since she's been there, so we'll this is my first like full-on like inspection of that unit, so hopefully it's not too trashed, and if it is, you know, just written notice like, hey, you know, last time I was here I asked you to clean up, and looks like, you know, it's pretty much the same or worse than what we talked about last time I was here, and you know, what do we need to do? So anyways, just a pro tip before I start rambling anymore, just want to let you guys know, that's very, very important. Check on your properties. Check the outside, check the inside, check the roof, check for water leaks, check for electrical problems, check for gas leaks, all that stuff. You want to be very, very proactive when it comes to managing your properties. Okay, you guys, have an awesome night. Bye.